Right, let's do some synastry. Normally when I read these, I take quite a while. Could be an hour, could be hour and a half or whatever, especially when the individuals in the chart are present and they have questions. Synastry, however, is often done with only one person, at least often better done with one person, because the picture of the relationship isn't always a pretty one. I mean, when you got both people there, they kind of expect to hear that they'll be BFFs forever, and usually that's just not the case. So, with that in mind, I'm reading the synastry chart for J and V. Um, V is the woman, her chart is in the middle. J's chart is on the outside. So, when I first take a look at this chart, the thing that I note is that they have Chiron on V's ascendant. So that's kind of cool. They both share a kind of doctor-patient thing. It could be cool if they're both doctors. If they're both patients, that is in the doctor-patient kind of relationship, then maybe that's not so cool. Uh, but what we do see is that V's part of fortune, V is in her element when J is exercising Chiron. And so that could be that V is comfortable with J in the doctor role or in the patient role. We'll have to look at the rest of the chart in order to see that. We also note that V's AVX, V's anti-vertex, is really close to J's moon, which means basically that V has the ability to write changes for the way J displays his emotions. On the other hand, where V displays her talent, J is typically able to go more forward in the world. So far, the relationship is kind of okay, you know. That Chiron thing is a little bit weird, though. We don't know what it means, particularly for V's life. But if we keep going, here's something promising. So on the Imam Coli, we see that V draws out commitment from J because J has his Juno there. And so basically, the Imam Coli acts like a vacuum, and it's easy for you to draw out whatever characteristics the other person has there. And V can draw out some kind of, I don't want to say long-standing, but more solid commitment from J. This is not quite a romantic relationship, but it's being read in romance space, by the way, because I would actually read the chart for romantic relationships versus business partnerships versus projects and stuff differently. Well, anyway, this is a good sign. It also shows that J is in his element when V is focused on something, and also where V has El Dejer and Savonlinna active. This is good because Savonlinna is one of the strongest asteroids I found for a caring partner. When V is acting like a caring partner or at home in the family setting, J is comfortable. And there's also a kind of social exchange that goes there. This area down here is really conducive to J being comfortable with V. Um, do we have anything pathological which explains this Chiron here, like Mars's and stuff? It shows that J's Mars is on V's node. Sometimes that indicates a kind of attraction. Sometimes it indicates anger. We can't quite tell yet. This here seems to show that J is more in a relaxed mode, especially because J's, well, if you look here, V's sun and moon are really close, or close-ish to J's node, particularly the moon. And so V is more likely to give emotionality to J while J makes an image out there. We want to know if these two people would be just basic friends. Would they get along? And for that, we usually look at armor and analyse. Armor is your airspace. And so what we see here is that V has J's sun in her airspace. And that tends to mean that V can always access J's ego. She can just kind of reach for it and he's there. But we also see that J has his sun on V's Mars. And that typically means, especially in the case of the man having the sun and the woman having the Mars, that the woman is more attracted to that person. So these are good setups for attraction. There's also a level of passion that V naturally has with her friends, and there's a life change associated with it. It doesn't quite look like J is into that. Uh, as far as J's airspace, J seems to always have access to V's Saturn. That could be good. It's often bad because basically it means that J has the ability to restrict V um, quite a bit. And then also we see that J's, well, this is weird. So J's communication, the Venus, is on V's Annalise. And so Annalise is where you shine as a public duomate. Apparently, V shines as a public duomate in conversation with J. Is it mutual? Well, let's look for J's Annalise, which I don't believe I've loaded here. Oh well, whatever. Uh, Overall, what you have is, oh, here's another one. Nolly, where you seem to be right where you belong. She seems to be right where she belongs in the realm of Jay's friends and in Jay's midheaven. Okay, I'm going to stop reading this wheel right now and just kind of give a summary of what I've seen. There's a weird kind of doctor-patient thing going on here, and there's also this there's a Mars-ish thing. There's a comfort here, and it shows a relationship which I don't know would work as a typical romantic relationship. It has to have some element of control. It just kind of glancing at it. The theme of this relationship seems to be one of control. And I'm not going to tell you that it's a one-way relationship. It's not necessarily a one-way relationship. However, the Chiron on the fortune here, the Mars on the node, the Annalise and the armor, and this lone eldritch out there shows that J may not be as invested in V as the other way around. J's Chiron is attached to J's focus, and maybe she can change the way he handles emotions. What can he change about her? Who knows? It's kind of interesting. But I would tell you that this relationship seems to be imbalanced in some way. I don't know if control is the central issue or what, but this armor Saturn, armor Sun thing doesn't quite match. And this Nali midheaven, Annalise Venus looks really good. This comfort here looks pretty good. But you just kind of picture a kind of aloofness from J to V, and maybe not so much aloofness because you got a lot of passion in here on some areas where J rebels. You could kind of see J going his own way though. Now, I also like to read these Synastry charts. Let me go ahead and shrink this. And actually, from the wheel, you can't normally tell whether people would work out. You can tell what is naturally conjunct. What I've just described is the kind of natural inertia for J and V. But what if J and V really want to be on the same page? Well, if they do, and they just want their actions to line up, then they're going to need an Aries decile. And I forget what the Aries decile does, but it's something like spontaneous restriction. Apparently, if these two suddenly decided that they just wanted to shut a common enemy down, they would probably line up. But that's not, this aspect here is not particularly good for suns because it is an obscure aspect. You tend to want something stronger than this. We can always go back to the wheel and see if there's a kind of favorable aspect in the wheel, but I'm not quite seeing it. You can't see from that shrunken wheel, but I can. And it might be near a sextile. I don't know, but not quite. So there you go. How about these people? Are they emotionally compatible? It seems that they're emotionally compatible in the body disciplinary regimen. This is the 38, the level 4 opposition, also known as the Sagittarius opposition. If these people's emotions want to line up, they basically have to be either exercising together or walking together or doing something physical. It's not always sex. In fact, if this isn't a romantic relationship, it may just be walking around somewhere. but they have to be using their bodies. Now, this doesn't seem, again, very promising here. You've got a kind of charm, so one of them definitely listens to the other, kind of on a daily basis, and that underscores the kind of therapy thing that I found earlier. But you don't have a lot of major aspects here in the personal planets, and this is why I kind of like reading synastry charts with only one person there, especially if that person is really ready for some some realities. Now, I can always spare your feelings when I'm reading your synastry chart, right? I mean, it's we don't have to break bad news all the time. It's just that typically when people ask me to read a synastry chart, they do want to know, like, what's up with the relationship. They wouldn't ask if everything were going smoothly, because typically people in that situation don't want to hear it. So, yeah, the chart can actually tell you stuff. The last thing I'll read here is why these people are in each other's lives. So, uh, we've got V up here and J over here. And if I go to Celine Fortune, it shows that V is in J's life either to manage it or to show a kind of managerial control behavior that she uses. Could be on him, could be on herself, or something like that. J is in V's life, the other way around here, uh, to basically convey his values to her. So one of them is the manager, the other one is the value conveyor. This does kind of look more like a therapy-based relationship the longer I look at it. Anyway, like I said, that's just a short preview of how the synastry chart works. I usually read all kinds of other things. I can go in there and find all of your squares where you're most likely to kind of irritate each other. Node Uranus. So there may be this sense in which the social information around Jay's social information, which surrounds him, um, may automatically, in some way, get on V's nerves because she's got that square there. And it looks like V's friends, Bacchus, seem to go against Jay's talents. And where V naturally belongs, Nali, seems to go against where J is destined to go. There may just be some sense of underlying kind of, I don't know. One of these people doesn't seem very enthusiastic about the other. But that's just because you've got friends and noise and stuff that just doesn't seem to match where the other one is going. Synastry chart readings can be, sometimes they're really good. Sometimes, like this one, they're just not so great. Some of them are really bad, but they're not. They're only bad when the person who comes to the thing has a list of complaints, and they're like, I hate this person, show me their synastry chart, and then, I'll read it accordingly. That's it.